Hey, how are you doing? Merry Christmas. 0.02%. This is the adoption rate of installment of nuclear shelters in the Japanese society. Japan is known as the country that didn't spread nuclear shelters in the society even under the threat of nuclear war in the Cold War period back then. According to the Japan Nuclear Shelter Association, the adoption rate of nuclear shelters in the world is something like this: Switzerland 100%, in Israel 100%, in Norway 98%, in the United States 82%, Russia 78%, England 67%, and Singapore 54%, in South Korea 323.2%, in Japan 0.02%. Underground malls and metro's underground building space are generally indicated as an emergency temporary evacuation facility, especially in Tokyo, Osaka, Kobe, based on the civil protection law in Japan. So, but the capacity of underground space in such places is limited, and protection of radiation rays also has a limitation in the underground facilities. So, seeing each household's adoption rate of nuclear shelters in Japan, the most of people in Japan are already in the mental state that they must be prepared to ascend to the heaven when nuclear war starts in the world. There are various reasons that Japanese society doesn't recognize the importance of preparation against the fatal crisis that may happen in the future. There may be so many people who think that Japanese people take peace for granted, but I have another point about this. This is 100% my speculation because there is no awareness survey about people's position of nuclear shelters conducted by a public organization. It goes without saying that Japan is a bombed country that suffered fatal damages by atomic bombs from the United States historically. So, Japan is only the country that came under nuclear attack in the world. And dreadfulness of nuclear bomb has been inherited from the generation that experienced war to the generation that never knows World War II. And the underlying thinking of nuclear war is that at the time that nuclear war starts in the world, there is no way to persuade conflict countries from stopping using nuclear weapons, even if conflicts among countries start from very small trivial trigger. Because we know once they reach their hand to nuclear weapon, they will not absolutely take the attitude that they will not use nuclear weapon but keep using it until they distract everything with irrational rampage. So we are prepared if nuclear war starts in the world. There is hopeless, and there is no place to evacuate. There is no place to escape on this planet. So we think the nuclear shelter is just a useless soothing that indicates a shadowy hope that we may be possibly able to survive under the situation where nuclear bombs drop down here and there around the world, right? So we don't have awareness that we cling to life with sense of crisis in order to somehow survive in the environment where nuclear bombs drop down around everywhere on the earth. So I want to ask you if you have a confidence to perfectly save your life with nuclear shelter from nuclear attack and from a number of nuclear attacks. And if you think if nuclear weapon users stop using it by controlling their emotion after using it one or two times, it is not realistic anyway. If war starts, a country aggressively keeps attacking an enemy country with no mercy until an enemy hang out a white flag. And if a country uses a nuclear weapon, enemies will be annihilated with no chance to hang out a white flag to show intention of surrender. So in terms of this point, the United States had great emotional control to save their feeling of vengeance to annihilate Japan thoroughly in World War II, right? So, but it is not always necessarily that every country behaves like this. Undoubtedly, the size and depth of a crater that is possibly to be made by thousands of hundreds thousands of dropping of nuclear bombs on the ground easily exceed the depths of underground that where nuclear shelters are installed. You know what I mean? So in short, no matter how seriously we struggle to cling our life and find a way to be able to survive on this planet, these endeavors will end in vain if nuclear war starts in the world. So this is a Japanese people's way of thinking. So we accept death before finding the possibility to survive. So as a national of a nuclear bombed country, there's one thing I want to advise those who assume that they will have the last hope that they will be able to survive without annihilation even after the start of a nuclear war in the world. Just give up your hope to survive. It is not that easy. Once a country uses nuclear weapons, just accept it as your fate, and you have to be prepared to ascend to the heaven.